fifth pro fight was at Caesar's Palace in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. And I was fighting Stephanie All Action Dobbs. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the most pro fights of any female in history, or she was at that time. So I had a great training camp for this fight, and I was really confident that I was going to win. I had been boxing maybe like 5 months at this time total, and I was really practicing defense and the art of not getting hit. So I was practicing like rolling and got to use some of this in the fight. In Lake Tahoe, it's like 10,000 feet elevation. So you've got 1/3 the oxygen at that altitude that you do ordinarily. And this had a great effect on my lungs and conditioning in this fight. So I feel like I had the best training camp of any fight for this one. And it was my first 6-rounder, though. Yeah, I guess you got to consider that because I had only been fighting 4-rounders up until this time. And it was a cool experience. So the Caesar's Palace, it sat on top of a mountain. And in order to get there, the limo was like taking us in this windy like road that took you to the top of this like snow-covered mountain. I had never been in a limo before. And it reminded me of like the Wile E. Coyote cartoon where if you would have went off the road, you were dead. So that was really pretty and kind of, cool experience. And it was my first, no, it wasn't my first casino fight, but yeah, it was a big fight for me. And I went out there and I just boxed the socks off of her the first round. I was just like, wow, just moving and hitting her. And she's the type of fighter who just kind of throws punches nonstop, and she's always in your face, pretty aggressive. But defense really wasn't her thing. So, I just kind of avoided her, hit her with a few shots, moved. And then like the second round, it hit me. I mean, it hit me hard too. I felt just really exhausted. Once your lungs are exhausted, then every muscle in your body is depleted of oxygen. And had to learn this the hard way. I got there like a couple days early, and I should have got there to acclimate to the altitude maybe like a week or 10 days out. So, lesson learned. But the second round, I'm completely exhausted. I think I came out boxing for maybe like 20 seconds of the first round and still kind of had that sharpness before it hit me like a ton of bricks. And my legs just kind of betrayed me, and they were like, we're not moving around anymore. So all I could do was just stand toe to toe with this girl in the center of the ring. And I was like throwing hooks, weaving, uppercuts and hooks. That's all I was doing. I mean, I was throwing some straight punches in there too, but mostly hooks. And I was doing a lot of weaving. So I felt like I was winning the fight at all times because she wasn't doing any weaving. She was just kind of like there to get hit with whatever. And I was missing a lot of punches. And so, we're both throwing pretty constantly. It was like a little bit closer fight than I should have let it be. But, I watched that fight for years afterwards. And, I was trying to study it because I ended up losing the fight by a majority decision. It was the first time I felt like I didn't get a fair shake on the scorecards because, at this point, I had 2 other losses, and both of them, the ref stepped in and stopped it. And, I was getting hit pretty clean in both of those fights. I was against a world champion in one of the fights, fighting in Vegas, with less than 2 months of boxing experience. And then my first opponent was undefeated. So, I kind of went in over my head that first and third fight, and it was a legit loss. But this time I didn't see it. I didn't see where they could have given it to her just because, it's more than just landing shots in there. Like they need to account for, they account for 5 things in professional boxing. And that is clean landed punches, of course. And also, defense. So if there's one fighter that doesn't have defense, one fighter that does, If it's close, that should be one of the 5 deciding factors. Another thing is like ring generalship, and that's just kind of like your general stature as a professional fighter in the ring, you know, overall. And you're also judged on power in the pros. And, you know, my first, like 9 out of my first 10 wins were by knockout. So I most certainly had power and made my opponents not want to be in there with me anymore. And I've never been in the ring with someone who I felt was a stronger fighter than me, even whenever I went up, you know, 4 and 5 weight divisions. I certainly had concussions after those fights, but during the fight, I felt like the shots I was landing was harder. So this fight, I was like standing in the center of the ring, and I finished the 6th round standing in the center of the ring, not moving around with this girl. So I aborted my game plan. My game plan was just to stay up on my toes, box circles around her, really work on defense. And even though I did use some defense, mostly just planting my feet in the center of the ring and weaving, you know, I wasn't able to move around in the ring. I was completely exhausted. So my trainer was like screaming at me. I'm sure this didn't help with the judges either. I actually like am quick to replace any trainer who does this to me or shows any sign of disrespect in the corner to me. But my trainer was like screaming the entire fight. I mean, it was tough to watch this video afterwards. They were like, come on, move your, you know, just like screaming at me like I'm doing something wrong, you know? And when the judges are hearing that, and then, you know, he's slapping me in my face in between rounds, because when I would go sit on my corner stool in between rounds, my eyes would just slam shut. Like, they never did it in the fight, but this is my moment to rest, and my body took it serious. So he's like, open your eyes. And yeah, my eyes were just like, so the eyes weren't opening, and he's like sitting there smacking me all dramatic and screaming in my face, and you're gonna lose this fight, and you know, just like exactly how you don't want to talk to your fighter, because there's people watching you. And if your own corner thinks you're losing, and you know, it's the end of the round, and the judges are trying to decide who gets the 10 and who gets the 9 for that round, they're probably going to score it in favor of whoever is, you know, confidently feeling like they won that round, or at least their corner's confidently feeling like they won that round. But you know, I'm not claiming to have boxed the socks off of her or anything. This girl, she was one of the, she was in the Guinness Book of World Records for being like the busiest female fighter, having the most pro fights of any female fighter at the time, Stephanie All Action Dobbs. And you know, it's my 5th fight. I'm 2-2 at this time, about 4 or 5 months into boxing. So, you know, it was pretty evenly matched, but I studied that fight for a long time, just trying to figure out where I went wrong. And I think where I went wrong, besides like not acclimating it, if I'm going to place blame, was just my corner. Yeah. I've actually been on the other side of things where, you know, you can like praise somebody or clap for them whenever they're landing the hard shot, whenever they're landing the shot. And it can be a close fight. And, you know, however more dramatic the crowd gets whenever you're landing the shots, it makes it seem like those shots are the more telling blows of the fight. So it does make a difference. And yeah, I ended up getting my redemption on Stephanie Dobbs later on, but actually a couple times. We rematched like twice. So it was cool. You know, it was a learning experience, if nothing else. When we make mistakes, that's when we learn the most. You know, when we win, then of course that is like a super high, and it's motivation to keep going and to push yourself through things that are really hard. But when we lose, that's when we learn, that's when we grow. So I take back nothing. All right, guys, I hope you're having fun hearing all my war stories. I will see you tomorrow on hollydunaway.com or on YouTube. Bye, guys.